Time to get to what's trending here on CBS Sports HQ. I'm Haley Sutton. Week 14 has come and gone in the NFL with the Chargers putting a stamp on the schedule. They take down the reigning champs in prime time last night. The Eagles, meanwhile, losing their third straight. What does that do to their weekly power rankings? It is Tuesday, which means it's time for Pete Prisco's Power Rankings presented by Geico. It feels good to Geico, and it does not feel good in the city of brotherly love right now. Philly falling out of the top 10 with the Patriots still standing strong there at number 1. The Packers, meanwhile, crack the top 5 after that big divisional showdown against the Bears. Chicago, meanwhile, drops a spot. Colts, Ravens, Chiefs all continuing to free fall. So we continue kicking off the hour here with Pete Prisco's Power Rankings. Here's how those rankings kind of shift out. Our top 3 tiers here, the class of the conference, chasing the championship, and the playoffs loading. That's where we kind of start the conversation, if you will, there. A lot of people in that category there in the middle. So let's break down what this week has in store. I've got the maker of the rankings, Pete Prisco. I've got the challenger of the rankings, Douzable, our former defensive lineman on set here. Guys, we got to talk about the Eagles because boy, oh boy, we talk about a free fall. Things just have not been going in their favor this week. I have this statistic about Jalen Hurts because I imagine we're going to talk about Jalen Hurts and all those turnovers in just a minute. He became the first player since at least 1978, fellas, with 2 turnovers on 1 play. And Pete, that kind of represented what that Eagles game looked like last night for the reigning champs.
Well, and they don't know who they are on offense. And you saw Barkley rip off a long run. And then you get the lead in the fourth quarter, and you don't run them. I mean, I don't understand what they're doing. And they have Jalen Hurts in shotgun the entire game, which doesn't work anymore. You can't play in shotgun the entire game. He just never looked comfortable. You had guys dropping passes. Even when he threw good balls, they dropped them. There's just no consistency to the offense. But something that can fix it, give Barkley the damn ball.
I know, right? It's almost like they just can't get all the pieces together because we were complaining about A.J. Brown. He finally gets going, and then they lose to the Cowboys. We finally get the run game going here. They lose to the Chargers, Lise. What is the recipe in Philly?
It's a combination of everything. First and foremost, Jalen Hurts has not seen the field clearly. There's guys that are open, and he's looking at them, but he's not throwing the football.
Aikman was calling him out on it.
Yeah, so I watched the tape again this morning, and I'm like, take the check down. Stay ahead of the chains. Like, too often, the Eagles were in 3rd and long, and he has to make a heroic throw for them to get a first down. Like, we saw the throw to Devontae Smith in overtime on 3rd and 16. Like, it shouldn't take that. You should not be in that scenario. And to your point, Pete, I went back and counted. You know Saquon Barkley? I'm not even talking about the big run. The second half, he had 7 total touches with that in overtime. 7 total touches, ridiculous. And this guy ran for over 120 yards. To your point, when you're up by 3, your defense goes out, stops the Chargers in 5 plays, they punt it back to you. You come out and throw the ball 2 times in a row. Right. Now, again, I love to throw to Cooper, but on the next play, let's get Saquon Barkley going again. Now, A.J. Brown should have caught the pass. But to your point, why are you throwing the ball right now? Your quarterback has been skittish, to Haley's point. First time since 1978, a player had a turnover, 2 turnovers in 1 play. And even that play was a head scratcher because you throw an interception because the D tackle drops.
Never saw him. There was a guy wide open behind him.
Heck of a job by your offensive skill player to punch the ball out of his hands. You get it, and then you're loose with the ball, and it gets punched out of your hands. So it's just like things that we don't routinely see Jalen Hurts do, he's doing right now, and it's just a head scratcher because it's on the play calling. It's obviously on Jalen Hurts not seeing the ball well. But for the life of me, you have Saquon Barkley, and he probably had his best game of the season, and you go away from him.
Makes no sense. And by the way, on the interception that he lost the game on, he had an easy throw to Goddard that would.
Or just throw it away with the pressure.
But he had Goddard right there for five yards.
I'm glad that we brought this up because this is actually where I was going next, Pete. As we see them each and every week, they continue to fall off there. They peaked over the last 7 weeks. They peaked at 4th overall on your power rankings. As we take a look at this graphic, 3-game losing streak. They're averaging just over 16 points per game. It's clear that there's some problems in Philly, Pete. So do you anticipate them getting back on the right side of things? They got, what, the Raiders this week?
The schedule tells you that they're going to get right. I mean, and look, they have a couple more against the Commanders, who aren't a great football team either. They will get right. They're going to get right. You look at that schedule. Look, they're not. I don't think they'll beat Buffalo at Buffalo, but the rest of those games they should win, and that gets them the division title. Correct. And then it all becomes, we're in the playoffs. What do you do now?
Well, this is the question about going back to the game, because you talked about the interception, Pete. What baffled me was after you got that first down, it's 2:35 on the clock. why not run the ball? Because at worst, maybe you kick a field goal at the end of the game with no time and you get a tie. But you putting the ball in the air puts it in harm's way. You want to eat some clock. So I think clock management and play calling has been a big issue for them. I'm on the opposite side of Pete. Haley, I think your Dallas Cowboys got a shot here because we've seen
they got to win them all.
They do. But we've seen this story play out.
We got to play that Chargers team, by the way, that beat Philly yesterday.
Correct. We saw this in 23 after they went to the Super Bowl in 22. They started off hot, and what happened the back half of the season? Now they got in, but they didn't look good. If they were to falter one of those Commanders games, which the Commanders have been giving them issues in the past, Jaden Daniels had a real struggle.
Commanders
yeah,
team.
we've seen Jaden Daniels really struggle this last week. Another caveat. What if Kenny Pickett's playing this game? It's a revenge game for Kenny Pickett, for the Raiders.
Well, sort of.
But there's so many question marks with this offense, right? Defense is playing lights out. There's so many questions with this offense right now. If they were to slip one of those games versus the Commanders, it could get real interesting for the Dallas Cowboys.
One other thing about the Eagles offense, I mean, my God, do you have to have the play clock go down almost to zero on every single play?
Operation is terrible.
It's incredible.
Operation is terrible.
All right. Well, the Eagles are going to enter this week at number 12 in Pete Prisco's power rankings. Let's talk about the team that beat them last night. Justin Herbert, like, bless his heart, he was out there with a club on his hand.
Fighting for his life.
Like, literally fight. And it was tough for him, too. I mean, let's not get it confused. Like, that Eagles defense did make it challenging for Justin Herbert. But they're your biggest risers this week, Pete. They're up 7 spots to number 11. They are perfect in prime time as well, so take that with what you will. I'm just curious, though, given the injuries, like they're fighting through a banged-up offensive line as well, how much more can this Chargers team handle?
I thought they would lose last night, and then I would look at the rest of their schedule and think they could lose every single one of them, and they still could. I mean, the way their offensive line is playing, I mean, that Eagles team wasn't exactly getting to the quarterback at a high rate this year, and they look like they did last night.
They sure did.
And they don't protect him. If he didn't move, how many more sacks would they have had? About 4 or 5 more? It could have been double digits. And so I'm worried about the offensive line. One thing about them, their defense will keep them in games.
Yep.
It's always that bend, don't break.
Correct.
And if your quarterback has to be patient against them. If you're patient and take what's there, you can move the football. You're not going to get a lot of chunk plays against them. But I think the schedule is really, really tough to navigate for them. You look at it, I mean, it's at the Chiefs this week. You know that's a tough game. At the Cowboys is a tough game. Texans at home and at Broncos. I mean, the last 2 weeks, look at those two defenses. I mean, it's going to
and really those first two, too, because you've got a Chiefs team that we talked about it on Sunday. They have to win out. They had to win out last week. You had a Cowboys team as well.
I think it comes down to the Chiefs or the Chargers.
Yeah.
I think that's what it's going to be. If the Chiefs beat the Chargers, they can win all their games. You see who they play. I mean,
they got to win them, though.
But they play the Titans and the Raiders, and then they have one tough one. Broncos.
Yeah.
But if they win all their games, I think the Chargers have a really tough
Chargers have
schedule.
to win at least one more to almost guarantee that they get
If they
into
beat the
playoffs.
Chiefs, they're in.
For sure, because they'll own the tiebreaker over them, and that would be the second win. This ain't sustainable. And this is the question mark I had. Remember, Pete, when we did the breakdown of the schedule, I think it was like 3 weeks ago, and Chargers fans were in my DM, Haley, because I was like, they're probably going to lose the last 5. Now, they muttered on the line of losing last night, but they were able to get over the top. And what a gutsy performance by Justin Herbert. You talked about he had the broken left hand. And halfway through the game, you saw his hand was hurting. He had to hand the ball off with only his right hand, which is the opposite way when guys are running to the left. But you talked about it, Pete. Him scrambling, for him not scrambling, they probably would have had 10 or 11 sacks. The Eagles had 7 sacks and 11 quarterback hits. That's not. I don't care how tough you are. That is not sustainable. And then when you look at what's on the schedule, you still have to go against the Broncos and the Texans defense, who are better pass rushers than the Eagles. So they have to figure something out to take some of that pressure off Justin Herbert. They ran the ball well in spurts with Amarion Hampton and Vidal. They need to do a little bit more in that. Like you said, the Chargers defense, their bend don't break. They're going to play that shell defense. They want you to matriculate the ball down the field, and they feel like you're going to make a mistake. Well, Jalen Hurts made mistakes. But if you go back to that Jaguars game, Trevor Lawrence didn't make mistakes, and they ran the ball, and that's when they're in trouble. That's my question mark. If that defense plays like it did versus the Jacksonville Jaguars, can the offense hold up?
Beat the Chiefs this week or you're in trouble, Chargers.
We're going to talk about the Chiefs in just a bit. Real quick, Pete, I'll give you last word on this. When we talk about Jim Harbaugh securing another winning season in the NFL, he's got, 6 seasons as an NFL head coach, none of them losing seasons. I know that he can be campy and he's kind of that guy, but what can you say about the coaching effort that he puts out every time he's in the NFL?
He's a great coach.
Yeah.
I mean, when you hire Jim Harbaugh, you know you're going to have a physical team, you're going to have a tough team, and you're going to have a team that's going to be in games in a lot of situations. I think he's a great – look, he's had to deal with a lot this year. When
Yes,
you
he
lose your
has.
top 2 tackles on an offensive line and you have this team where they are right now, that's a heck of a coaching job.
Yeah, I can't get over the club. I wonder what animal that the Eagles will have in the locker room this week. What positivity
So much for that
animal.
They should
positive
slice
bunny.
that damn thing up,
I know,
man.
and
I would
send it
slice
out.
that thing up. I told you that the other day. Positivity, rabbit, give me a break.
That was a tough one to come back from. The Bills able to get a big comeback win earlier this week against the Bengals. Pete, I just want to give you a moment here to talk about the game plan and how the Bills were able to win this game, because I remember
didn't
doing
play
this
loose.
show last
He played
week.
loose. He
where
did play
EJ,
loose.
you said it had to go
Under
through
30
James
attempts.
Cook.
I think that's the market
but
for him.
he
Under
also
30
ran
attempts.
a lot too.
But I said that. I said he needs to run.
He needs to be free and running around. It can't be the fumbler getting the ball all the time. Look, the bottom line is they need James Cook when you need to have James Cook. There's no question about that. You have to run it when you need to run it. But the Bills, to be who they are this year, have to be Superman does his thing. It has to be that way. Look, Cook is a good runner. But the way they're constructed on the defensive side of the ball, they need to get more out of this offense. And I know they made some plays on defense.
They did, last 2 weeks.
They turned the ball over, and they've done some good things. But this has to be all about Josh Allen. Look, Cook, run it in the fourth quarter when you need him to run it. You don't build it around him. It's not hand off to Cook, bubble screen to Shakir, go make a play, Josh Allen.
set you
It's
up
got to
for
be better
failure.
than
I'm
that.
sorry.
And I'm the opposite way. I think when you look at the totality of the season, they're 4 losses, Pete. When he's had to throw it for more than 30 attempts, they're 1-3.
Well,
and the
usually
only
you're
loss
throwing
was
when you're behind, though.
But that's what I'm saying. But even in close games, like he throws it more. Like to me, I feel like when they establish the run early, it opens up everything. Now again, they had a great game plan because they knew the Bengals really struggled against tight ends, and they had tight ends. Dawson Knox had a career day, and even Kincaid had a good day. More specifically in the red zone.
But you're capable of doing that, opening it up with those tight ends.
But to me, I think it was game script because they knew the Bengals had real trouble with tight ends. And James Cook got going early, but he had a costly fumble, which I thought they weren't going to be able to overcome. But then Josh started using his mobility. Yeah, Josh started using his mobility, and that's where it really turned the game. He played like Superman. That's why I said, when he needs to be Superman, let him be Superman. But I don't think you should just come out the gate having him be Superman.
Okay, so you want a little more balance.
Yeah.
I'm okay for the run game to be a little bit balanced, but he needs to be Superman.
Okay.
He will be when you need him to.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that coaching matchup, too. We got to move on. But Vrabel versus McDermott, that's going to be a fun one, too, because they're taking on the Patriots. Remember, the Patriots won round 1, so this will be round 2. I want to talk about the best defense, fellas, in the NFL. The Houston Texans, an absolute clinic against the Chiefs on Sunday. They started the season 0-3. They are now 8-2, and 3 of those wins came with Davis Mills behind center when C.J. Stroud was out. Pete, they obviously are moving up the power rankings each and every week here, but what I guess has been the catalyst for the change, that 0-3 to now 8-2 on the season?
The defense. And I think when you look at it, they can rush with 4 and play coverage on the back end. And when you can rush with 4 and play coverage on the back end, it makes it tough to move the football. Nobody, what, in the last 9 games, nobody's thrown for more than 200 yards against them.
I mean, it's like 220 yards.
And that limits what you can do offensively. And so I think that's the biggest difference for me. But getting Stroud back also.
That's what I was going to say.
He wasn't great the other night. He was okay.
He was clutch, though.
He was clutch.
That's what I'm saying.
He was okay. He's going to have to start doing more in the passing game as well as you move into the postseason or their schedule's favorable down the stretch, by the way.
They're
going to get in. I think what it looks like to me, the winner of the AFC South will play the other team that doesn't get in the first round of the playoffs.
I think it's going to be like that.
I think it's going to be, if the Texans win it, Jacksonville will go to Houston. If Jaguars win it, then Houston will go to Jacksonville. I think that's the way it
So you think the
looks
Bills are going to lose one more game?
Yeah.
The Pats game?
Yeah, maybe.
Or
I don't
the
know.
Eagles? You asked Haley what has been the difference. To me, it's been the O-line and Stroud, the combination. Now, Ed Ingram probably had his worst game versus Chris Jones. We've been waiting for Chris Jones to have that type of game. But Ed Ingram has actually played really well this year.
He has played well.
And Trent Brown at right tackle has kind of solidified that O-line. So when you're asking what's been the biggest difference, why they're having success, they have some continuity on O-line. Like the offensive line was abysmal in the beginning of the year. And we talked about it. Yes, C.J. Stroud has some lulls in that game, but when they needed him to be his best, he was. One thing that hasn't been talked about enough, Pete, about C.J. Stroud is his mobility out of the pocket. He's actually become a really good off-platform thrower. Where, remember coming out of Ohio State, people question that. Go back to that Georgia game. Why does he never leave the pocket? Can he get outside and make plays off script? He's been doing that at a high clip, and he does it when they need it at the most important time. So, to me, those have been the most important things because the defense is the defense. I mean, the defense is going to always be the number one defense as far as stopping people, but that offense and that offensive line is taking a step. That's why they're at where they're at right now.
But as good as they were, if Andy Reid doesn't give him a gift on the
fourth down,
I mean, my God,
we'll talk about that.
Andy
We'll talk about
Reid's
that
one of the
soon.
greatest coaches of all time, but that was a gift
was a
for
panic.
Texas.
We're going to get to that in a minute. We call that a deep tease in television. We're going to take a break, though, here with Pete Prisco's Power Rankings. We're going to stay in the division when we come back because if any of you had Phillip Rivers playing football ever again on your bingo card, you're a liar. There's no way. Where the Colts stand with the 40-plus-year-old quarterback stepping in potentially behind center. Back here on CBS Sports HQ, working through Pete Prisco's Power Rankings presented by Geico. It feels good to Geico. These are the tiers that we've been discussing. The tiers, or the teams rather, at the top of the list. These playoff teams, postseason battles, all the good stuff. I want to point your attention to the next couple of tiers here because this is where some things can get interesting. Everyone's favorite, I don't know, Jim category.
I don't know, Jim.
It's got those Colts in there. They are down a quarterback or two. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then in the mid-tier, the Jeff Fishers of the world. My Cowboys are in there. We're above the Chiefs. That's what I care about. You're still saying there's a chance. Leger's trying to convince me they can win the division.
But you know what? I'm really surprised. Pete finally put the Panthers in the top 15.
They're in there.
Well, there's been a lot of teams.
I love
going in the
that.
opposite
I love that
direction.
for you.
So
though.
it's a process of
stay there.
elimination down there. They won't stay.
Bucks
They got a
might be
big
in
one
trouble.
coming up.
Huh?
Bucks might be in trouble.
Panthers might be in trouble this week.
The Saints?
Yeah.
You're right. Tyler Shuck's playing well.
All right, let's talk about the elephant in the room, if you will. The Indianapolis Colts have been going through it over the last couple of weeks. Daniel Jones done Achilles injury. Riley Leonard comes in. Now he's got a knee injury. We're still waiting to see when Anthony Richardson's going to be available. But the good news is they called up Phillip Rivers, the veteran, hadn't played in 5 years. Are J.J. Watt actually giving some insight as to why this feels appropriate? J.J. Watt tweeting, quote, "Fun fact I learned in production meetings. Phillip Rivers ran the same offense as the Colts for his son Gunner's high school team this year. He and Shane Steichen spoke weekly about it, discussing plays and even film. Here's the kicker. So the familiarity with the scheme that he's running for his son's high school football program should be no problem whatsoever, Pete Prisco."
Yeah, I bet it's just as
Just
complex.
the same thing.
That's what I was about
Same,
to
right?
say.
Just as
The
complex.
nuances are exactly the same, I'm sure.
But you could have similar offense
Correct.
to what they
Yeah.
run. It's just not. It's not.
They'll have
gonna
a
be-
nice base,
I
but
wonder-
like
I-
the
I don't
nuances
think-
will not
is
be
the verbiage
the
the same?
Probably not.
I mean, that's what I mean. That's the whole thing. But Rivers is a smart
Correct.
guy, brilliant guy, in fact, when it comes to playing quarterback. So he won't have a problem with any of that, I don't think. The problem, I want to see if he can throw the football.
Can he move?
I mean, forget about movement. He never had a great arm to begin with. It was a good arm. And so where is your arm 5 years after not really playing in the league? Now, he has trained quarterbacks. He trained
saw
Drake
that.
May.
Yep.
Coming out into the draft. So he has thrown the football around, but look,
Trained Drake May is a crazy sentence that he's now going to try to come and save the Colts from after training Drake May.
Well, he's also grandfather. I mean, when you think about
He
it,
might be the first grandfather ever played in the NFL.
No, there were others.
think there are other
there
ones?
wasn't. By the way, his son is older than Riley Leonard.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
when you think
crazy.
about that, I love Phillip Rivers is one of my favorite
Fiery guy.
all-time players in this league to deal with. I love whenever you talk to Phillip Rivers, you learn something about the game, and he is a competitor through and through, and that's why he's back. He loves it. He lived it. He always did. And so from that, remember, I told him once, I go, I'm not going to use the word I said, but I said, the players around the league think you're the biggest, you know what, on the field, but the nicest guy off it. He looked at me and he said, I'll take that. Because that's who he is. So,
But in
I hope-
2025, Pete?
Look, he can still be a competitor. He'll still be feisty. He's still going to open his mouth and say things, never curse him, by the way. But I just don't know what he has left. And I hope, for his sake, if he does get out there, he is capable of playing to at least a close level to what he used to play.
What does this tell you about where the Colts are right now? I mean, because like I said, Anthony Richardson is still a possibility. Riley Leonard, we still don't know the severity of that knee injury right now on Tuesday, Lige.
I mean, first of all, let's look at the schedule, Haley.
I know.
They got so if Phillip were to be elevated from
Welcome back to the
welcome
NFL.
back with the Seahawks defense at the Seahawks. Then you have the 49ers, Jaguars, and then look at that last week, the Houston Texans.
All those teams are playoff teams.
Exactly. So it's just like, this is a real welcome back to the NFL. And Pete, we've discussed this before. Desperate teams do desperate things when The playoffs are on the line. And this is a desperation move by the Indianapolis Colts. And when you look at it, they probably weren't going to find a caliber starter that they wanted out there, right, on somebody's practice squad, unless somebody gets released, which is probably not going to happen. So they go, let's go get a guy like Phillip Rivers, who's been in this building before, who's been a consummate pro. My biggest question, like you, Haley, 5 years removed, I think he retired 1 year after me. I couldn't imagine suiting up and going to play football right now. I can only imagine. Now, again, he has been a high school coach. To Pete's point, he's been training guys for the combine, but that's totally different than actually taking reps in an NFL game. I was surprised when I saw this. And another caveat, Haley, if he were to go out and play, it would restart his Hall of Fame clock, right? He's actually eligible to become a Hall of Famer this year.
If he gets to the active roster, which right now he's on the practice
squad. He's on the practice squad, so it doesn't count against him. But if he was elevated and took snaps, it would restart his Hall of Fame career.
Here's the thing. You talk about desperate teams, about the playoffs. This is desperation for your job. I think Chris Ballard is in trouble. Yeah. I mean, they have not won the division since Andrew Luck was there. Yeah. But every team in the division, other than them, has won it at least twice. And you traded those 2 first-round picks for Sauce Gardner,
you have no draft
who's
capital.
not there. And so I think you're desperate for your job, and the heat's going to be on if this thing crumbles. By the way, you don't have those picks next year, and you don't have Daniel Jones either for at least half the season.
Correct.
You have to decide what you're going to do with his contract. So it's a mess.
And you brought up Anthony Richardson. He has the orbital issue right now. So it's like even the guy that you benched that you took in the top 5, you can't even lean on him right now because he's hurt. So
they were.
It's just
By the
been
way,
a
I buried him on Sunday.
Yeah.
They're buried. No matter what Phillip Rivers does,
Phillip Rivers is going to save
that schedule is too tough.
Yeah, it is. We get to watch that Colts-Seahawks game here on CBS, so that one should be cinema regardless for why you're watching it. Let's talk about the Chiefs, guys. Pete, each and every week I sit here on set with you and you give me a reason why this Kansas City Chiefs team is going to figure it out.
Now,
those chances, it's now down to 6%. There's a lot of statistics about how poorly Patrick Mahomes played, but it's not really his fault because it felt like at least that he's done absolutely everything to keep them alive. But it feels like we're looking at a situation where the Chiefs will not play postseason ball.
Yeah, it's looking that way. And back to Patrick Mahomes. He played with down 3 offensive linemen. He ran around all day, and the receivers didn't exactly help him great either. No. I mean, they were dropping balls over the place. And so it all added up to a bad game, and then Andy Reid made one of the worst coaching decisions I've seen in a long, long time. I love Andy Reid. I think he's one of the great coaches this league has ever had, if not the greatest coach. You can make that case if he continues to coach and actually won a Super Bowl or 2. But why in hell would you go for that on 4th down in a game where nobody's scoring points? I could see if it was 38-35 or something, you go for that. Not in that scenario. So bad decision. Are they done? No.
6%.
They have to win out. They have to win. If they win out, based on where the Chargers' schedule is, I think they could still have a chance to get in because the Colts are gone.
Yeah.
So who's going? Somebody's got to go.
That's true. Dolphins.
You think they're winning out?
They may win out.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't know if they can win out.
I'm going to say this. Kansas City is known for their burnt ends, right? Well, the Chiefs burnt their burnt ends. They're done. They're cooked. And, Pete, I've been telling you this for a while. Like, when you look at them, what do they do well? Like, we've always been able to point to what the Chiefs do or excel at better than any other team. Last year, they out-executed everybody. They didn't have the best personnel, but they weren't going to beat themselves. Hence why they won 11-0 in one-score games. This year, they're 1-6 in those games. And you talked about Patrick Mahomes. Like, yes, he was out his top 3 offensive tackles. But I said this last week, Pete. I don't feel like he trusts his teammates as much. Now, granted, they had some pivotal drops in this game. But when you look at the tape, there's guys open. But on pivotal downs, it's almost like Patrick Mahomes is like, forget it, I'm going to make the play. I'm going to make sure that we get the first down instead of trusting in the offense. Anytime he leads them in rushing, Haley, they lose games.
And that's a bad stat.
They are 0-4 when Patrick Mahomes leads them in rushing. But a lot of times he leads them in rushing because of what I talked about. On those pivotal 3rd downs, Haley, he's not looking at his progressions. He's like, I'm going to maneuver in the pocket, make a play with my legs, or I'm going to make a play with my mobility and then throw it down the field.
He doesn't trust his offensive line.
Yeah, well,
clearly.
That might be it too. But again, I don't think he's trusting his teammates, period. I feel like he's putting too much on himself and not trusting the team. And that's why they're faltering.
You say they're done. You don't think they can run that table?
You've been saying for the last 3 weeks they're going to win.
That's why
they're going to win this game. They're going to win.
You don't think they can?
Not currently looking at the tape. I don't think they're a good team.
But you don't think they can beat the Chargers this week?
Anybody can beat anybody, but I don't think they can.
You don't think they beat the Chargers?
I don't think.
I do.
I just don't.
The one game,
and I don't think they beat the Broncos either.
Is the one
because the Broncos want to get the #1 seed. But again, you go back to the Andy Reid. He's usually a conservative coach. So for him to do that lets you know he was faltering under the pressure. Because you're on your own 31-yard line.
It's dumb.
It's 10-10. Your defense has played the best game they've played all year long. You play the field position battle right there. You do not go for it. That's essentially what lost them the game.
He kind of admitted it.
Just one of those things.
But that's what I'm saying. They haven't executed to what we're accustomed to them executing, and that's why they've been losing.
Well, neither have the Ravens, fellas. They are one spot back. Kansas City comes in at 19. The Ravens down to 20. Just last week, we were so sure that they were going to win the division, and now we're not even sure if they're going to be in the postseason here, Pete.
No, and their schedule is tough, too.
I think they're trouble, too. They're done,
in big trouble. They're in big trouble. I think they win this week against the Bengals. But the rest of that schedule, I mean, you got to play the Patriots at the Packers at the Steelers to close it out. They're going to have a tough time making it. And we started to see little bits and pieces at the end of the game of Lamar Jackson being Lamar Jackson, which was a good thing. And quite frankly, Likely's play should have been a touchdown, and they probably win that game. But it didn't happen, and they lost the game, and now they're in big trouble. And a lot of things on the other side of the ball not so good either.
That's what I was about to say.
A lot of busts over there and coverage by you. I mean, on Warren's touchdown, he could have thrown the Freiermuth or Warren.
Everybody was open.
There was nobody over there. And so I'm concerned about this Ravens team. Your Super Bowl pick.
They were my Super Bowl pick. And the issue with them is one thing we could hang our hat on, going back like the last 4 or 5 weeks before last week, before the Bengals lost, was this defense was going to show up. They haven't really showed up the last couple of weeks. You look at Joe Burrow coming back and cooking them with Jamar Chase, which he routinely does every single year. And then last week, you talked about it, Pete. Aaron Rodgers probably had his best game of the year. They struggled getting after the passer with just 4, so they started adding guys and adding pressure. But when you do that, everybody has to be on the same page. You have to cover your man. So many coverage busts. Like Aaron Rodgers has played this game way too long for you to all-out pressure him and not cover a guy. He is going to make you pay for it. So to me, yes, the offense has struggled, but the last 2 weeks, the defense has taken a step back. That's why it's real concerning. And to Pete's point, with that schedule, I just think the Steelers have already created enough space where I don't think they're going to catch them.
Buried them? Are you burying them?
I am. I think the Ravens are done. Who would have thought in the beginning of the year that the Chiefs and the Ravens could possibly
be unbelievable.
It'd be unbelievable. Philip Rivers is playing in the NFL. Maybe Philip Rivers can call Aaron Rodgers and get some advice on what it feels like to be playing at this stage.
40's the new 30. That's what Rodgers told me once.
This is what we do every Tuesday, folks. Pete Prisco's power rankings. These are the bottom categories. We don't really have time to talk about them. Down bad. The Vikings, they take a step forward, though. They got a big win with J.J. McCarthy and the Saints.
They played air last week. J.J. McCarthy played against air last week, known as the Commanders'
But
defense.
he was like the air the week before. And then the dumpster fire situations there. All of those teams on your right eliminated from postseason
There
play.
we are.
If you like this segment, come hang out with us on Sundays, 8:20 Eastern on Game Day Recap. We do this and a whole lot more, breaking down the latest and reacting to the latest in the NFL.